Welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Well, to some of you who have not listened to our show, I don't know what to say. You're going to learn something like you learn every week. But every week we have a show called Ask Brien. We either teach something about business to people. We either try to help them out with learning a business. Like a couple of weeks ago, we were teaching people about SEO, search engine optimization. Sometimes we'll have a founder of a company. Today we actually have a founder of a company. They can tell you how easy it was, in quotes, to start a company and make something happen. The reality is it's never easy. And we're going to learn all about that. And we're going to learn tips about things that you probably need to know about starting your own business. But without any further ado, we're going to ask, why is Ask Brien spelled ASKBRIEN? I'm not Irish. My name is not O'Brien, okay? So it has nothing to do with that. And it has nothing to do with the pub down the street, O'Brien, although I have gone to O'Brien's pub quite a bit. Now, Tracy, please help the audience, my glorious co-host. Please explain to the audience why we have an E in Ask Brien, not an A or YN, or why it's spelled EN.
Well, one of the things that you said that I think we should just kick off with, because it's probably one of the most important things, other than the engineer, is education.
You were educated and you learned that not to miss that. Good one.
Yes, I learned from the tough knocks, and so I got that down now. But in all seriousness, yes, thank you to our awesome engineer. But also, we're all about education, and you mentioned that. And education is so important, especially when you're starting a business. If we can help you shortcut that learning curve and help remove some of those pain points, that's why we're here.
Okay, that's a good reason. Any other reasons why we have an E in Ask Brien?
Oh, we have so many reasons. The other reason is we couldn't have such fantastic education if we didn't interview such amazing experts. So everybody that is a guest on the Ask Brien radio show and podcast is an expert. And we even have the mathematical formula to go along with what determines you as
it's not a formula, it's an logarithm. It's an logarithm.
It's an logarithm. Is that even...
Well, especially to a software guy like this, he'll understand and appreciate it.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to call it a mathematical formula, but you can call it whatever you want, because I'm the one that has to do the math. So let's do that. So typically, an expert is defined as working 40 hours a week. The aspiration is 10,000 hours in your field, in your niche, in your category, in your industry. So 10,000 hours, how we back into that is typically a 40-hour work week over 50 weeks a year. Would take you about 5 hours to get there. Oh my God, you threw me off. Okay, I'm gonna start over.
How do you say a word?
10,000. Yeah, well, but you were thinking it. So
wow.
10,000 hours based on working 40 hours a week, an average of 50 weeks a year, would take you approximately 5 years. However, you and I, and I'm sure our guest knows, that nobody's working 40 hours a week if they're starting a business or running a business likely. Hopefully they are by a certain period of time, but especially not at the beginning. So we think you could probably knock that out in about 3 years on the entrepreneurial scale. So experts, engineer, education, and that creates for us a lot of something that you really like a lot, which is not empathy, although we do have a lot of empathy. You like a lot of enthusiasm.
And excitement!
Yes, it's always very exciting here on the Ask Brien radio show. And enthusiasm, excitement, and of course I did slide empathy in there because we do have empathy for all of you listeners who are struggling out there and wanting to make a go of it, and that's why we're here, is to help that happen more efficiently for you.
Don't forget about the empathy that we have to have for our guest who just had his ears blown out by my screaming into the phone. But that's okay.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny because I used to really have to protect my ears, but I'm so used to it now that I don't even notice it. That's kind of scary. But, yes, it is mind-blowing and eardrum-blowing, that's for sure. So, we, other than the fact that we're all pretty exceptional here, would you like to tee up my favorite E, or do you want to mention some more E's?
Well, just remember, and I think it's all included in what you said, experience does count. And if you have a lot of experience, it certainly can cut down the chain. Obviously, we have entrepreneurs, which you've mentioned, but entrepreneurs is also one of the biggies. But I'm going to say your favorite one is grease lightning.
Because without it, hands down, we are electrifying. Never gets old. It just never gets old.
Well, after Sam speaks to his superiors and says, "What did you get me into?" Sam, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. So that's a little pick-me-up to kind of get people flowing. So, and by the way, we should have another E, energy. You need a lot of energy. All right. Sam, so you have a company, it's called GeoJam. So first of all, I haven't heard of that. I don't know if Tracy has, and I don't know what the audience knows about it. So what is GeoJam?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it. It's a wonderful opportunity. And Tracy, to go on what you said, 40 hours a week, I don't even know what that's like. I think one of my favorite things about entrepreneurs is that we get to choose which 80 hours a week we work. Right, and I think that would hit home for a lot of the listeners. I think that would hit home for a lot of the listeners, that are thinking about starting their own business or starting their own business. Entrepreneurship is a way of life. It's not a career. And it's, some people are cut out for it, some people are not. And, always, and I think one of the biggest things in entrepreneurship is always being able to pay it forward. So, I'm very excited to be here with you guys today and hopefully impart some wisdom and, tell everybody about what we're building, what we're doing. GeoJam is a social platform powered by AI, artificial intelligence, and it's a big buzzword these days. And we make it easy for everyone to share and earn together. So what happens is every day, GeoJam presents you with an AI-generated prompt tailored to bring out your most authentic self and bring everyone closer together. Users can only see others' replies once they have replied themselves. And so pretty much our vision is simple. We've created a space where users can genuinely connect with friends, creators, and the communities they love in a social setting.
So how do you differentiate yourself from other social networks? I mean, can't you do some of these same things on other social networks? Can't you do that on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever?
Oh, absolutely. And the existing social networks that are out in the universe that we've all been using for the better part of a decade now are amazing. And, they're not going anywhere, right? TikTok is phenomenal at long-form content and, Snapchat for, quick communication messaging, and LinkedIn obviously for professional purposes. But really how we differentiate ourselves is that we see ourselves as what the future is, and that's short-form social media. And so, what we realize, there's a rule in social media. It's called the 90-91 rule. So it's basically what percent of people in the world that are on social media create content. 9% of people will engage, comment, like with that content, and the other 90% are what we like to call, lurkers or doom scrollers, right? Where you're just constantly, just consuming the content, but you're not engaging and you're not interacting with it in any way. And what we realized is that the reason that people do that is because social media can be a pretty scary place. It takes a lot of thought into what people, what you want to post and what you want to kind of put out to the world on a daily basis. And what we're trying to do is take the guesswork and the anxiety out of that with the artificial intelligence and machine learning that we have built. It basically it prompts you on a daily basis and asks you a question, and the whole world gets asked the same question no matter where you are at the same time. Very similar to Be Real, but if you guys are familiar with that, but with a lot more functionality. And so the daily prompt will come through at a different time every single day, and you answer the question. You can't see everyone else's responses until you answer yourself, so it kind of makes it more gamified. And ultimately, and we'll discuss this a little more, we are essentially looking and we're working to build the artificial intelligence to be powerful enough to essentially be able to tell you what to post based on your engagement and your interaction on all of your other platforms, So you get those, as we call vanity metrics, those likes, comments, shares, views, up, in a great way.
Okay, and you mentioned artificial intelligence. So is it the artificial intelligence is coming with a daily phrase, or is it something, or are you creating it?
No, so the artificial intelligence is what's actually doing that. So if there's a lot of listeners might be familiar with a company called OpenAI or ChatGPT. That's, kind of come to the forefront here probably since the beginning of the year, where, it's basically artificial intelligence it's almost like Google, right? Like you can help you write a paper for school, or if you have a question, you're trying to kind of problem solve, or if you're trying to, it can do a lot of different things. But that is an open source artificial intelligence. What we have done is we built our own proprietary artificial intelligence that is a closed-loop system, and the way the system works is that it scrubs all of the social, it scrubs Google, TikTok, Twitter, all the major places where people search for things, and anything that's trending on a daily basis is what that's how it comes up with the prompt, right? So the AI does all the thinking and takes all the guesswork out of it for you.
So if you're doing that on a daily basis, is it going through the entire day and looking for the last 24 hours? And that's how it's determining what is the trending thing for that day? How are they determining what's the trending thing? Is it based over a 24-hour period, 12-hour period?
It's on a rolling basis. The way our AI does it is it scrubs the internet once an hour right now. Is how we have it set. And really, whether it's current events, whether it's politics, whether it's weather, it will kind of prompt people accordingly. We launched this version of the application. It went live about 40 days ago. So we've been live for a little bit over a month. And as we're going to continue to roll out app updates and new feature updates, there's one of the big things that we're going to do is geolocation, right? So, whether you're in LA or New York, or maybe you're in London, maybe you're in Japan, there's a lot of different things, socially and weather-wise, current events, things that are happening. And our AI will know based on where you are in the world, kind of how to prompt you and what to prompt you with. So it's just, it's a new wave of social media. It's short-form content. We're not looking for people to spend hours a day scrolling on our platform. But what we are looking to do is take the guesswork out of posting and empower much more people, and kind of flip that rule that's been existing in social media kind of since day one, and make a lot more people kind of make the masses the creators, if you will, is the best way to say it.
So before being a founder of GeoJam, what was your background?
So before I founded GeoJam a few years ago with my co-founder, Sarah, I had my own live event production company. So I used to produce music festivals, comedy festivals, and large-scale live events. We did things we had tentpole events around the country, so South by Southwest and Art Basel Miami, Sundance Film Festival. And so I've been very deep in the entertainment media space for a long time. And prior to that, I was the co-founder of a company called Launch House in Cleveland, Ohio. I used to live in the Midwest before moving out west here to LA a few years ago. We were a business accelerator, basically a co-working space, and we kind of took the Techstars and Y Combinator model and brought it to the Midwest. By really investing in entrepreneurs and ideas and mentoring them. So I've been working with startups and entrepreneurs for well over a decade at this point, and I'm very passionate about the creation process and really kind of seeing things, from the idea on a napkin that an entrepreneur might have to a successful business, hopefully one day.
Well, that must have been quite a change going from the accelerator and then going off and working for somebody, because I would think that you've got your own. Many people that are starting out their own companies, they have that independent streak, and it's kind of hard to mesh in with the corporate people. So how did that affect you?
Oh, so no, I didn't. I actually didn't go in the corporate world. I started my own live event production company. So from Launch House, once we started, it was my company. From Launch House, I kind of used all the connections and a lot of the connections that I got, and really kind of pursued my passion in live events and working with entertainers and artists. And technology, and GeoJam is really kind of the melding of everything that I've ever done and wanted to do. Is build this game-changing technology to kind of help the world and change the world, and work with amazing people along the way. So here we are, living the entrepreneurial dream.
And how did you meet your
Is it more than one co-founder, or is it just you and Sarah?
So Sarah and I actually met. Yeah, so I have two co-founders. Sarah and I originally started the company together. We met back in 2017 in Miami. It was actually at an event during Miami Music Week. I still had my live event production company, so I was down there for work. And Sarah had her own sponsorship and marketing agency at the time. And we met and got to talking and started talking about entrepreneurship and kind of what our dreams were. And she kind of presented me. I remember it was our first conversation that we ever had. She said, "What do you think about a concept like this?" And a rough outline of kind of what GeoJam would one day become. And I said, "I think that's pretty cool." And we kicked off a great friendship there, and we started working together. She started doing all the sponsorships for my events, and it's probably about a year and a half later that we decided to take this journey together.
So was there another co-founder besides you and Sarah?
Yeah. So Justin's our third co-founder. He kind of came in. At this point, it's been 3 years since he kind of came in with us, and again, mutual friends, and somebody who he was a very interesting case. He was working. He had a very successful career working for a Fortune 500 company, and once the pandemic hit, and unfortunately, a lot of people had their kind of lives turned around, and he was laid off at the time, and was trying to figure out what was next, and kind of came out to LA to visit us for a week and never really left. And so it's been an amazing journey together since then.
Wow. And then so it took you this long though to launch, right? Almost 2 or 3 years. So once you launched, I can only imagine it must be really, really hard in the beginning to get people to come to something brand new. I mean, unless you have tons and tons of money to market and advertise, it's got to be really, really hard in the beginning. So as you've only been around for 40 days, I wouldn't expect that much traction. Although, I have heard stories like Mozilla Firefox came out and they had, tons of users, right? But that's a rarity and an exception.
So I'll give you, for sure. So I can give you some context around that, actually. So the original version of our application actually launched during the pandemic in October of 2020. Because our original vision for the company was to have a social media for music platform. And the way that platform worked was you kind of signed in with your Spotify Premium or your Apple Music, and you're able to basically do anything you could do on other social networks in terms of sharing, commenting, liking, but it was all around music. And it was shortly after we launched during that time, and this is, maybe I'll take another kind of step in our journey. When I first met Sarah, she was, like I said, back in 2017, she was already really into the crypto space, which was very, very nascent back then. And she just kind of saw the power in crypto and the power in the blockchain and what could be. And I remember one of our first conversations, she was talking about this, and she said, it would be really cool to build a platform like this on the blockchain. But as we kind of, went down the journey together back in 2018 and we started talking about doing this, it was still, kind of in its infancy in terms of the public eye. And what we decided to do was really kind of go fundraise, the traditional way and launch a product with the goal of one day potentially, kind of switching this whole thing over. And so we launched in October of 2020, and by the beginning, probably about March of 2021, we realized, as crypto was really kind of picking up, and we said, what, maybe this is really the right time to kind of, jump on and jump on this wave because it's something we had been thinking about. So we decided to write our white paper, kind of detailing, and a white paper, for anybody who doesn't know, is basically a business plan, a public-facing business plan for crypto. And crypto is a very interesting world where normally you would never put unless you're a publicly traded company, you would never put your business plan out for the public to see because you're just afraid that somebody might copy your ideas or everything that you do. But in the crypto world, everything is all about transparency. And so when you write your white paper, which ours ended up being about 50 pages of our thoughts of what the social network could be that we wanted to build, and we released it, and we did a token pre-sale. And then in November of this past year, we launched version 2 of our application, which was on the blockchain. And we made a very interesting entrepreneurial mistake of, we took our white paper and we said, all right, we have all these amazing thoughts. Let's build an application and put an app into the world that says everything, that does everything we said, everything in our minds and in our dreams. But the problem was kind of where we came short on that idea was that it did too much at once. And it was kind of hard for people to really grasp and understand all the different levels of functionality, right? And so we realized that really quickly. And so we went back to the drawing board right at the beginning of this year and said, okay, what is the feature that people are using the most, like the most, engaging the most with on this platform? And we built the newest version of our app, which is our version 3.0. So we've released 3 products into the market. So we pulled the other app out of the App Store, and as soon as this one was ready, and we released the current one about 40 days ago. And I think we didn't guess right. We kind of used our smarts and our data analytics really well because this app has gotten the most traction, the most user retention. We've gotten a great amount of downloads in a very short amount of time. And actually, the other platform that we released in November, we kind of took it out. Like I said, we took it out of the App Store, and we've been working on it for the last couple of months, and it's being re-released back into the App Store next week under the name Community by GeoJam. And it's going to be a lot more community-centric app with a lot more crypto and token functionality behind it as well. So as of next week, we're going to have 2 products live in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store in 158 countries around the world.
That's amazing. We got to take a break and listen to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. We've had a great guest from GeoJam, Steve, and take it away, Tracy.
Well, thank you, Peter. So before the break, you were talking about your trajectory of how you launched your different products along the way. One question for clarification. So are you on separate websites right now? Are you merging them all together? How do the products function? Do they function collaboratively or independently?
So everything is under one umbrella. It's under one website. It would be geojam.com, where you can learn about both products and both applications. For right now, they're going to live separately because they're kind of slightly different focus, whereas the one right now that's in the App Store is more AI-driven and focused, and the other one is going to be much more community and people-driven. But ultimately, our goal is to combine everything together. And so that is where we're going to be working to get to, hopefully over the next year or so.
Great. And one of the things that I wanted to circle back to that you mentioned when you were telling this part of the story was that and I loved how you said entrepreneurial mistakes. And I know I don't really love the term fail fast, but because I don't really like the term fail, because I think we can learn so much from our mistakes. But I'd like you to expound a little bit more on how, to me it's just incredibly important how an entrepreneur's journey, if you fail fast, if you recognize your mistakes and you move on, that actually can be a good thing. Can you share a little bit about that part of your experience?
Absolutely, Tracy. So, I say this to a lot of entrepreneurs that I mentor and that I talk to. One of the marks of a good entrepreneur and somebody who can really hopefully be successful one day is the ability to pivot fast, and to really kind of understand where you might have made mistakes, quote unquote, along the way. And there's no shame and there's no embarrassment in that. And sometimes you just have to look at what the data provides you. We are we're a software company, right? And so we built an application, and the numbers don't lie, and it tells us exactly, who's using it, when, how, for how long. We have, thousands of different data points that we can kind of inspect and look at. And so for us, kind of as I was talking before the break, is in November, once we launched this application, we saw right away that people were having a bit of a difficult time grasping it and understanding everything that it should do. And we realized, I think we gave people, a little bit too much credit, or maybe it was just a little bit too much from our own brains, kind of spit out into a native application. So that took quite some time. There's one other thing to note is that our applications are both applications that are going to be in the App Store and Play Store are both native applications. So they were built specifically for Apple and Android devices, which allows for a lot of functionality. There's a third type of application that called the web app, right, where you can go to Safari or Chrome from your phone and basically pull up a website, and it kind of functions as an app, but it does not have nearly the amount of functionality or usability, if you will, as native applications do. Although they are much easier to build. So native applications take a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of resources, but it's really worth it once you see the finished product.
And when you were walking through you and your 2 co-founders' background experiences, a lot of live entertainment, a lot of sponsorship, marketing, sales, a lot of Fortune 500 corporation experience, but I didn't hear anything about tech experience. So when you're talking about this level of native apps and building out this technology and all of the things that go along with it, did you have to identify and bring in a team for that?
So, for myself, I did have some tech. I did have a bit of a tech background, in a sense that as I mentioned earlier, that I was a co-founder in an accelerator, and I've worked with a lot of different tech companies. So it's something I've learned over the years. But Sarah is actually a designer. She is a front-end developer and designer, so a lot of the initial designs for the application, came from her mind and her brain, kind of on us working on it collaboratively. And Justin, our third co-founder, he now leads our tech team, he went from like that Fortune 500 sales and, an executive position there. And it's something that, you just kind of immerse yourself in and you learn. I think that at startups, obviously, we have, funding is always at a premium, and time is obviously the most valuable thing that we have. And you're in people's entrepreneurial journey, you find yourself learning a lot of things and teaching yourself a lot of things along the way that you thought that you might never know or never do. And it's also a really gratifying part of the experience as well.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You have to wear a lot of hats in a lot of different areas, and then you have 3 different people wearing 3 different types of hats and changing hats. And so one of the things that we always like to talk about with companies that have multiple co-founders is the delineation of roles and responsibilities. And you were mentioning that one of your co-founders heads up the tech team. How did the 3 of you come together and delineate whose roles were going to be what in order to keep things operating smoothly?
So that's a great question, and I think that this is another learning part that a lot of entrepreneurs, potentially or aspiring entrepreneurs, can listen to and learn from. Is that I've noticed in a lot of times, because I've worked with a lot of different startups and mentored teams and invested in companies myself, that the startups that succeed are startups that have co-founders with different kind of skill sets and talents. If you have too many people with the same kind of, whether it's a tech background or whether it's an operations background or, anything like that, there seems to be a lot of butting heads along the way. Why I think myself and my co-founders work so well together is that we're very different people and our brains are wired very differently. Sarah is an incredible visionary. She's our CEO. She's a brilliant designer. She just has this creativity that oozes out of her. And me, on the opposite side of it, I do have creativity as well, but I'm an operations and logistics person, right? I'm the person that makes the business run and really understands everything that needs to happen, for business to run successfully. And Justin, with his sales background, is great with people, and he really understands, kind of processes, and that's where, technology and leading a tech team and leading engineers is all about the process and kind of the steps that you take through it. So we have, we're all, I'd say, very talented people, and the team that we have built around us is very talented as well. But we as founders have different areas that we're very good at, and that's what helps us, really helps drive us to be successful ultimately.
So what makes up your team? So because you obviously have 3 really strong co-founders with really strong backgrounds wearing a lot of different hats. Who else makes up your team right now?
So we have 4 full-time engineers that are working right now. So we have 2 front-end and 2 back-end engineers. We have an in-house graphic designer who's one of the most talented kids that I've met in quite some time, and it's so important because there's so much app design and so much decks and creativity, so many decks and so much creativity that goes into that. We also have a finance, kind of our token, in regards to our Jam token. We have a token and finance manager as well that helps us, keep all that stuff straight. And then we also have a community manager who's responsible for everything kind of that happens in the world of GeoJam, right? In the world of our app and our socials and things like that. So we definitely have a very, very diverse team. It is, I would like to point out as well that, kind of as market conditions dictate, and I think, again, the mark of a successful entrepreneur is being able to really understand and see what's happening in the world around them. At the end of last year, we saw that the market was turning for the worse, and we had to make some really hard decisions to cut some people on our team that were, they were key and vital to our success, but at the same time, the company has to go first, right, ultimately. And so we made some of those changes, and honestly, I think they were some of the best changes that we've ever made because the team that we had left, has worked that much harder, has worked that much more harmoniously together, and we all kind of had to step out of our comfort zone to really do things that we might not have thought that we were the best at, but everyone is really excelling at their roles. So extremely proud of our team, and hoping, as the market conditions hopefully start to get better, we'll be able to scale up here again very soon.
Well, thanks. We're going to take a quick break for our sponsor. We couldn't have the show without our sponsor, so is she there?
I'm here.
What is that? So our show is sponsored by 2 big companies. One is Albany Farms, and, they're, as we said last week, no, that's not the same horse racing farm that sent the horses to the Kentucky Derby, but it is still in the news. So what is Albany Farms, and can I pick my strawberries there?
No, you cannot pick your strawberries there. But Albany Farms is a food manufacturer located in Belfast, South Dakota, and we primarily focus on ramen noodles right now. So that's our number one product in our portfolio, and we're super excited. We have great flavors, and we can be found in local retailers like MJ's and Loiter's, but we can also be found in select Target and H-E-B stores, as well as Walmart Canada.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's just ramen noodles, or are there other products coming down that you can't tell us about, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, we have a lot of secrets, and there's a lot in the pipeline, but I can't share that yet.
Well, when I got my Big Mac at McDonald's, they always said special sauce, so that must be the special sauce. All right, so the other company that sponsors us is called Legal Steps with a Z. Again, ask Brien with an E, Legal Steps with a Z. It's probably Peter with an A or something. All right, so what is Legal Steps?
Peter with an E.
Exactly. Peter. That's what my nephew calls me. All right. So what is Legal Steps?
Yeah, great question. Legal Steps is a do-it-yourself system to handle legal issues such as forming a business in California or even registering a federal trademark, and it saves you tons and thousands of dollars, and it ultimately empowers entrepreneurs, making legal easy.
Wow, and I was told that you actually went through one of those classes, so what was your thoughts?
I loved it. I don't own my own company. I work for a family company, but it gave me a greater picture on organizational foundations and systems and rules and stuff like that, and the ways to do things properly. So I understand that side of the business a lot better now, and I definitely recommend it to everyone looking for legal guidance.
Wow, thank you very much. That was a ringing endorsement, too. I really appreciate that. And from what I'm hearing, basically, it empowers you. So that's a good thought.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks a lot, Steph. Till next week. Have a good week, and we'll be speaking to you soon.
You too. Take care, everybody. Bye, Lauren.
Thanks.
So, Sam, we're back, and it's an interesting concept, that Legal Steps. They're basically video courses of how to incorporate, how to form an LLC. And as an entrepreneur, have you been an entrepreneur for many years? I actually can see the need of how easy it would be if someone just take a course and then do it themselves and not have to spend hundreds of dollars to do it. So that was interesting. What do you think about that?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Honestly, it's when you start thinking about starting your own business and going through the steps, and people don't realize how many steps are involved in the process. Whether you want to be an LLC, whether you want to be a C corp, an S corp, what state do you want to incorporate in? Everything from setting up your bank account to getting your federal tax ID number. I mean, all of these things are kind of to me second nature, right? After all these years, maybe some other entrepreneurs, but there's definitely a lot of steps involved in the process, and so things like that really help entrepreneurs out, I think are brilliant.
Absolutely, we like that. We like that sponsorship. Tracy, you had some more questions, and I don't want to take up all your time, so go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So, I wanted to, speaking of pivot, I wanted to pivot a little bit to your audience growth strategy. And when, I happen to have a little bit of behind-the-scenes knowledge around this, but I'd love for you to share with our audience. It sounds like not only have you built an amazing team, which we were talking about before the sponsor mentioned, but also you have a really amazing, almost celebrity level investors and other support coming to your program, right? Like your platform. So let's talk about, that's kind of like a dream list to die for kind of situation. How did that come about?
So, when we started talking about building a social platform, and like I mentioned earlier, it was originally around music, what we wanted to do was bring in a lot of musicians and, musical celebrities to kind of help push the platform. So we were able to, get to a number of folks kind of with my background, Sarah's background, all of our experience. And so we have a lot of big-name celebrities that are investors and partners in our company, including Mariah Carey. I don't know. I'm sure most of the listeners know who she is. She has 19 number one singles, 19 Billboard number one singles, second only to the Beatles, who have 20 in her career. So she's just one of the most brilliant and creative women I have ever had the pleasure to work with, and she's fantastic. We have a lot of other celebrities on board. We have Machine Gun Kelly, we have Tyga, we have Nyjah Houston, who is a four-time world champion professional skateboarder. We have, the list kind of goes on and on. So we have, at this point, we have musical superstars and celebrities. We have athletes, we have YouTubers, we have Instagrammers. We've really kind of built out this advisory committee from these celebrities in their own kind of areas, and it's really helped us as we've gone through the building process, in terms of visualizing what the application should look like and the functionality behind it, but as well as marketing and promoting it. So those are, definitely part of our secret sauce to success.
Well, a lot of times you'll hear, and this is an interesting thing I think to dig into, because there's the influencer market is so huge, brands aligning with influencers and celebrities, which is a very strong, very smart marketing strategy. But how has that actually turned into actual conversions for you? Like, has it been more about brand awareness and getting the word out there, or has it actually, can you track that it's actually helped with conversions to users to the platform?
So Tracy, I can't tell you how much I love this question, because this is something that I talk about all the time. The answer to your question is it's really helped us in both brand awareness and conversions, but the conversions not as much as we had originally thought. And so that's another really interesting kind of teaching point here, or learning point for entrepreneurs. Is that, you may have some of the biggest celebrities in the world. I mean, our celebrity advisory board has, over 500 million combined followers. But, in today's day and age, unfortunately, with algorithms as they work on, the other big social platforms, and people seeing content and those actually converting, that wasn't as strong of a driver as we had initially anticipated. Influencer marketing is one of those things that's influencers and brands, because of the new restrictions on Instagram and TikTok, where, if anybody is endorsing a brand and they're getting paid for it, they legally have to put on there, this is a paid advertisement or paid promo. They have to put the hashtag in. They have to, mention that in their promotion. A lot of fans and a lot of, just common users don't take that as seriously. Through our research and our data, user-generated data is 9.8% more effective than, any influencers or celebrities. So you're much more likely, Tracy, if you go home and you tell your family, hey, I spoke to Sam, he's got this company, GeoJam, it's really cool, you guys should download it and check it out. That will resonate and ring a lot louder with people, as opposed to them going onto a social platform, Instagram or anywhere else, and seeing, Mariah Carey saying, hey, I'm a partner in GeoJam. Yes, that does work, but unfortunately, in today's day and age, it's not as effective as it used to be, so that should not be the primary, growth or marketing strategy for anybody kind of looking to be in this space.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people really underestimate, or they overestimate the value in terms of what it'll do to the bottom line. But of course, from a brand awareness perspective, it is still a really strong strategy as well. So that's really smart. And even with the growth of building an audience with podcasting, I mean, the biggest way shows grow are through people referring shows and telling their friends and family that they like shows. So that doesn't surprise me that that's the case. But I think it's something people should talk about more, because I think it's where you put your emphasis, right? Are you going to put your emphasis on audience growth through these strategic partnerships, or are you going to try to have more marketing through other channels? So with that being said, we've got
to take a break. It's 1:49. We'll be right back to listen to Ask Brien Radio Show, KHTS 1220 98.1 FM. Welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Tracy, you got some more info?
Yeah, so we have so much information I still want to cover, so I want to hit this. so we don't run out of time, and that is about the affiliation and the alignment with the cryptocurrency, and what does that mean for you, for your product, for your growth, and how does that tie in?
Yeah, so the original platform that I mentioned to you guys, the first platform that we ever launched with, the social music platform, had a rewards-based economy. So everything that you would do, you would earn points, kind of like American Express points or Delta points, and you could exchange those points for products, merchandise, or experiences in our Jam shop. And we've done anything from fly in a private jet with Mariah Carey to be on the billboard with Machine Gun Kelly here in Los Angeles. Like, we've done some huge once-in-a-lifetime fan experiences. But what we realized pretty quickly as we were kind of transitioning over to the blockchain, and why crypto was the answer for us, is because we wanted to have our token is the utility that really powers the entire platform. So you can earn it, you can propose things for your friends to do. You can actually, there's a lot of different ways to earn the Jam token. And again, you can have that Jam token that you can now exchange for products, merchandise, or experiences from your favorite celebrities. But now, instead of the points, which have no inherent value, this is an actual currency that has a value to it. So the celebrities and the athletes and the influencers and everybody that's doing these experiences is getting rewarded in return as well. And so it's really kind of, it makes our whole economy go on the GeoJam, in the GeoJam world, in the GeoJam universe. Our token is called Jam, and it's traded on 4 of the top 10 centralized exchanges in the world. So we're pretty easy to find.
That's so cool, and we could probably do another show just on crypto and what that means and how that's integrated. So we will save that to have you back next time. But in the meantime, if people want to, and I know they will, want to continue this conversation, get engaged with GeoJam, connect with you, probably ask you multiple more mentor questions because you've been so generous with your knowledge and your expertise. What is the best way for our audience to connect with you?
So our socials are GeoJam Official across every single platform: Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you can find us. At GeoJam Official, and my personal socials across all platforms is GeoJam Sam. So GeoJam Sam. Pretty simple, right? It's got a nice little ring to it. So I'm pretty easy to find. Feel free to DM me, drop me a follow. I will always do my best to reply in a timely manner. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I think mentoring and paying it forward is the best thing that any entrepreneur could do. So I'm always happy to help anybody that I can, and I'm very grateful for you guys having me on today. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, you heard it right here from GeoJam Sam. And if you want to get in touch with GeoJam Sam, but you didn't write it down, I'm going to say that like as many times as I can before we end. You want to go to our podcast, you want to download it, you want to follow it, and that is available to you wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, you name it. And the podcast, in case you don't know, but you want to know, is Ask Brien. That is the Ask Brien podcast, AskBrien. Search for it, follow it, and definitely go back and listen to this episode because it was just chock full of really good value bombs. And thank you, GeoJam Sam.
Of course. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Peter. I really appreciate you guys.
Thanks a lot. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Over and out.